will have this section. Yeah, let's get rid of it.
The name I did wrong.
Come on, Donnie. Where are the cards?
Oh, yeah.
Well, can we come to order? I want you to notice that we have our new folder, our brochure. And inside, the photos include George Chapman. You know, that's Ellen Freckleton's father.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. That's what I hope to hear. The Tacoma Speedway, the next picture.
This is?
Somehow or other it got called a 1915 Beeley, but that the year is 1915, and it is a Beeley, so that's pretty good. It might even be a 1915 Beeley. Next photo is the Bird School.
Oh.
This is the rarest picture I think we've ever get. And it's Pat Stope right here that had it, and her grandfather took it. And we think he took it back in the 1860s, about 64. Was he here then?
Well, I've got to check those dates out, or else it was my great-grandfather.
Yeah, well, that's right.
That's what.
Anyhow, it was a case where they made their own glass plates, photographed, developed them themselves, printed them themselves. The picture had faded badly, but don't we all in all those years? And I enjoy this picture because immediately I realized that's the back side of the Bird School. And I kept thinking, what else was out the back side of the Bird School? And of course, the outhouse was back there. But the water supply was in the creek down the hill. And if you look carefully, you can see the bucket upside down. And that's the dipper hanging beside the door.
Oh, yeah, sure enough.
The more I look at that picture, the better I like it. Now, the last picture in here is looking out of Craig Gunter's back door. Now, he looks out sort of at the Racket Club off the back side of his property. And he's got the oldest house in Lakewood. And that's the way the view looked about 1850. This was done from a woodcut. So, I have read this several times, and thanks to Orville Stout, I couldn't find anything wrong with it. And I'm delighted that Donna Cable is going to be our membership chairman. So things are getting just better and better. We have, at the last board meeting, decided that we should offer ourselves to the other societies like Historic Fort Steilacoom or the Steilacoom Indian Museum or whoever needs a few more bodies. And I volunteered to be at Osen when the Civil War reenactment happens. And Dave, are they using some of your cannons? The Civil War reenactment?
Oh, that's a different group.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. They've got full-scale cannons.
Okay.
I haven't got any that big.
And for those of you that have been wondering where this cannon fire comes at New Year's and 4th of July and other strange occasions, here it is. Now, my parents and his parents were the closest of friends. And I hope I'm not spoiling part of your talk, Dave, but you know, they used to have parties. A party would start Friday afternoon. Now, this is during Prohibition. And Friday evening it would be gaining strength, and the party were usually based because of visiting author, poet, opera singer, or the musicians from Seattle. They tell you who those musicians are if you want to know, but they were on KOMO radio. But those parties would break up Sunday sometime, and people would wander wearily home, one of the ways you could tell what was happening at the parties, or what was happening at a certain house besides the cars, was Harry Snyder, Captain Harry Snyder of the Washington State Patrol. He was usually stationed at the gate during these parties, and he was the one that greeted the guests when they first arrived. And he was also there to deter any revenuers that might be unseen. So. Harry Snyder was a great guy. A lot of kids got to ride in his sidecar. He was always around Lakewood with his motorcycle and sidecar. Anyhow, think about signing up with Historic Fort Silicon. If you want to call me, I'll get your name in. But they have 3 days of events, and they have to keep their museum open. Now, I think that's enough business. Anybody have any business they want to? Donnie, you always have something to say.
Oh, I love it. What would I do? We're, for your information, several people have asked, are we having a sign-in sheet? The answer is no. Danielle and I have been working really hard putting together the old sign-in sheets, the membership forms. We're getting organized no matter what size is. So we have a charter membership here that will encompass all the names that we have on here, and Donna Cable is going to inherit this job, and we're going to fill it out. And the hope is from the executive committee that we'll have enough money to publish a little booklet when our 100 charter members are assigned, that it will be put together in a little booklet, and you would be given that by the, I think maybe by the Lakewood time we should have closed it.
Yes, all right. Thank you for mentioning that, because we are planning what should be a very nice affair at Lakewood Gardens on Tuesday night, 3rd Tuesday in September. Dessert, music, Joe Carmen showing his movies of that property when the Alexanders lived there. What else? It should be a very nice evening anyhow. All right. Oh, Dave used to live right next door to Lakewood one time, long ago. Was a very small boy.
That was a little before my time.
Oh. I keep putting years on him, and it doesn't work too well.
My parents bought a house on Gravelly Lake in 1914. They hadn't lived there very long. It caught on fire and burnt to the ground. Of course, there was no fire department. Mother and Dad sold the vacant property that the house had occupied to H.F. Alexander, who was putting a group of properties together and created that estate, which was later came in the ownership of the Griggs family, and it's now Lakewood. But I didn't come along until later on. My parents bought another place in Lakewood in 1920. They got 11 acres, on which a small portion of it I still live. But the place on Gravelly Lake was for me. I say I was born during World War I and participated in World War II, but 1914 is a little bit ahead of me.
I always thought of you as much older, Dave.
Well, whatever. You know, one of the things I remember, Si mentioned that his parents and my parents were friends, but I remember Si and Marge Happy. Si was a prominent attorney in Tacoma. Si and Marge had a son that was then known as Jimmy. Whatever happened to Jimmy?
Well, it started to disappear when Marianne Tripler insisted on calling me Cyrus.
Oh, okay.
And you know Marianne Tripler?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
How'd you help me do that?
Well, Dave, I think you're on.
Okay. Well, when Wayne asked me to come and talk about the old days in Lakewood, I really didn't know what to talk about. I start remembering things around here in the 1920s.
Could you move him
But
up
I
here so
didn't,
we can?
I really didn't know what you wanted to talk about. I could talk about what Lakewood looked like, or what was here, and a few of the people. But I can mention that people started making Lakewood, changing the appearance of Lakewood a great many years ago when Hudson's Bay Company came in the 1830s. And they had a subsidiary called the Puget Sound Agricultural Society that grazed sheep and cattle. As you know, the whole area around Puget Sound was covered with fir trees, with the exception of a large area of prairie that went from South Tacoma and extended south of Olympia. The Hudson's Bay Company grazed sheep on it, and anybody that is familiar with sheep knows that if you allow them to overgraze, they destroy the grass, which is what happened. It got sheeped over, and the grass that replaced it is the short grass that you see here now. This allowed fir trees to spread into what had been the prairie, so there's a lot more fir trees around Lakewood than there was 150 years ago, in spite of the fact a lot of them had been cut down. But, for instance, the name Lakeview originated because in some high ground over east of where is Lakeview now, you could see gravelly an American lake. But, of course, the fir trees make that impossible now. But when I was asked to talk, I didn't really know what to talk about, so maybe I could start with some of the streets. One of the more important streets was the Pacific Highway. The Pacific Highway came through South Tacoma as far as Silicon Boulevard. Silicon Boulevard was not known as Silicon Boulevard then, but I'll get into that. But the intersection of what is now South Tacoma Way and now Silicon Boulevard was known as the 7 Mile Corner. So the South Tacoma Way did not extend past the 7 Mile Corner. The Pacific Highway then turned and proceeded to just across the railroad tracks and then made a left right angle turn and proceeded up south and past 111th Street and continued on down towards Ponders. Now, at Ponders, there was a auto repair shop and an ice plant. Of course, that was in the days when people had ice boxes in the house. They didn't have refrigerators. And the ice manufacturing was pretty good business. I can remember going over there with my father. I don't know why I went over there, I guess to the auto repair shop, but I used to like to watch that huge flywheel on the ice machine. Across the road from Ponders, there was nothing else there. There was a dance hall called Ingleside, which was a popular place at times, and a lot of the people went over there. I remember Si mentioning some of these parties, somebody get the idea, well, let's all go to Ingleside, and they'd go over there. That Ingleside is now probably a little area between what's now the Ponders Auto Parts and that group of buildings that has the Pizza Cats and places like that. Surrounding the Ingleside, there was kind of a park. There was some big fir trees and benches, picnic tables. You get back down Silicon Boulevard a little bit farther, at 111th Street, there was a restaurant known as Max Frolics. And that is now an apartment house. And across the road from that, there was a historical monument of some kind. I don't remember just what it said, but it had something about the Oregon Trail on it.